Welcome everyone to our EdTechTeam's 3D printing webinar. We have some great people here with you this evening or this afternoon or this morning, depending upon where you're here from, because we have folks from all over the world watching. We want to share some resources with you, so I'm going to screen share for just a moment and get us all set and ready. So all of our resources that we're sharing tonight can be found at bit.ly/3D webinar. I've put this in the chat a few times. I'll put it in a few more times because you're definitely going to want to visit this slide deck, and it'll be available for you after the webinar as well. We'll be sharing the link to the archive. I'd like to introduce myself real quickly. My name is Lisa Thuman. I'm the Senior Director for Teaching and Learning at EdTechTeam. I organize our custom professional development in the United States. With us this evening, we also have Kevin Hunter, President, Simplified Office Systems, and Kern Kelley, the Director of Student Agency at EdTechTeam. Please stick around to the very end where we will be doing a drawing for a free 3D printer. It's a Flash Forge Finder, and when we stop screen sharing, you're actually going to see that Kevin has it with him in his office, and he's actually printing right now. You're going to want to go to bit.ly/3D webinar drawing, and at the very end of our time together, we're going to draw a random name for anyone that's filled out that form. So I'm going to hand things over. Kevin, if you want to say hi to everyone before Kern starts speaking.
That'd be great. Hello, everyone. Just a little quick blurb. We have had a tremendous amount of fun, first of all, and more importantly, success in the education market with 3D. So we're excited to share what we've learned through our customers and the students and the educators we serve with you guys. And I do appreciate you letting me be a part of the forum tonight.
Awesome. And so for my role, I work in a school district in Central Maine, about 3,000 students. And we use a 3D printing for different models and different content from K to 12. And so we'll be kind of tackling some of the questions. We put this out there a few weeks ago, and we got a few hundred people responding for different questions about, how to use the 3D printer and which one to buy and all these different kind of, functional things that we need to figure out when you get a 3D printer in your classroom. So as we get started, Kevin will take over kind of some of the hardware questions. I'll field some more of the kind of classroom or pedagogical type stuff. So why don't we start right out? We'll put up the slide deck here real quick. Jump over here. And talking hardware, Kevin. So if we're looking to buy the right printer, everyone has different situations, of course, but what kind of advice would you give to a school district that's looking either to buy a single printer or maybe a bigger solution with a couple for them to use?
Sure. The best piece of advice I can give you from 6 years in the education space with 3D printers and now approaching 9,000 hours of actual operating 3D printers is don't be fooled by extremely low prices. There are some great printers out there that can be had for the $500 range. And here's how you know if you've got a good one. You're not spending more time fighting with it than you are printing with it. But I will tell you, this is as much an art as it is a science. There is a little bit of getting used to what a 3D printer does, how it operates, how it functions. So my advice to you would be stay away from just tons and tons and tons of blogs out there. Basically, these printers all operate on the same principle. They're taking, for lack of a better term, weed eater string and shooting it through a hot glue gun to allow you to build materials, build parts, build all kinds of things. My advice is find someone local as close as you can that will help you with a 3D printer. The brand is not as specific. We carry about 8 or 9 different brands, but where our education customers find value in us is we come out and help you learn how to use the machine. If you do have a problem, we help you fix it. So my advice not so much is about the specific printer, it's about finding a partner that can really help you. We expand our reach by using tools like we're doing tonight, both doing a live training as well as virtual training this way. We do a ton of videos on how to. It's really important not just to get a printer, you're really getting a program. And that's what we try to present to our folks out there.
That's fantastic. Do you have any kind of, tips that you'd recommend for people when they get started?
Yes, when you're first getting started, take a deep breath, relax, and have fun. I've seen folks that go into a 3D printer purchase and almost build fences around it and saying, you can't touch it. Don't break it. Let me give you a piece of advice. I've got printers in as young as pre-K programs. They have never broken them. They can go out there, they run the prints, they have a good time with them. I've even seen people drop these things. They pick them up, they adjust them, and they keep going. These are pretty solid pieces of technology. The power of the program is, or power of the printer is really get your mind around how it works to get over the fear, and then just start printing. Have some fun. Go grab, there's some great things out on the web. Grab a couple of things. Grab some cufflinks. Grab a Yoda head. Grab something to get over that fear and get going, but then really start embracing that technology and start thinking about, how am I going to use this to impact these kids' lives? How do I get my mind around what this technology can do? So my advice is, get a printer, get going, and do it now.
That's awesome. That's terrific advice. In fact, that's a really good segue kind of into what our next session here, talking about, getting the students involved. We found in my experience and the people I've talked to and so forth, there's really three kind of stages of printer adoption when you get it in the schools. The very first one is like, oh, this is so cool. Like just the reality of watching a printer print, going from creation something in your mind to there it is, you're holding in your hand within a few, say half an hour or 20 minutes or so. And that in itself is valuable. There's a level of magic there that you kind of, break that barrier from technology to reality. And I think that's definitely worthwhile. And then after that, we start talking about, okay, so now what? Now that we've played with this thing, we've kind of got a little bit of time under our belt. What can we do with it? And that's when we start looking for kind of other things that we can do. So we want our students to become problem finders. And what that means is, in our situation, is we have our kids say, look, we'll print something for you, but you have to find something for us. And what we mean by that in our school district is they have to go find a problem in the school or in the district or in the community that a 3D printer could solve. For example, if it's something that we had 2 students that found that there was a component of our cafeteria lunch tables that was breaking, a single grommet that was breaking pretty frequently. And so they found a way, they kind of reversed engineer it to be able to print that piece out. And when they were done, they actually found that the original kind of design of it was faulty. It was going to break every time. So they re-engineered it themselves, kind of designed it, and made a new, better version of that. And what you'll find is, a lot of students, when they get started, they want to, oh, can I make myself an iPhone case or a cell phone case or something, something which is fine. But we want them to kind of go find something for us first. And kind of that's the trade-off. And it gets them excited about it, gets them motivated. After that, kind of the next level up, once they get going, definitely visit Thingiverse. It's a great website that has tons and tons and tons, thousands, if not tens of thousands of models that you can just grab. When we do something like that, I definitely recommend kind of moving beyond just something that you could buy off the shelf or you could make yourself. Start looking for things that are not, you couldn't make without a 3D printer. This is a really simple one. This is just a ball inside of a cube, but everybody loves this because it's something that you couldn't make yourself. You need a 3D printer to make that. Kevin's got something as well. Oh, he's muted. Hang on one second.
This is an awesome piece that's printed all at one time. I'm going to bring it in a little close to the camera. And as the dad of a 5th grader, I'll tell you, this is a very, very popular piece. But it's not just a cool catapult. Think about the physics. Think about the math. Think about trajectory. Think about how you're now using the bait of 3D printers to sneak learning up on the kids. So something as simple as it looks like a toy, but now let's turn it into a lesson.
Yeah, totally. And that's really the idea, is you get beyond that initial kind of stages. This is another model that we've shared, and it's going to be, again, hard to see on here. And the first time you see this, you might say, what the heck is that? What this actually is, and the link is in the show notes there, but this is a sundial, but it's a digital sundial. So if you set this up and put it at the right angle, as the sun goes through, it will actually make, shadows of a digital version of the time. So 1:50, 2 o'clock, 2:30, or whatever it is. Now, this is something that you couldn't create without a 3D printer. There's no way you could carve it correctly with drills or screws or whatever. You have to have a 3D printer to make this kind of thing. And that's where you start expanding the mind, start getting things that are even above and beyond what they might think. Let's go back real quick here. So that brings us to after they've done these kind of grab things off the shelf and printed things that basically they found, and your students have looked and said, oh, this is really cool, let's try this. That really gives a good start. And kind of in that process, you'll learn the do's and don'ts of printing, how long it takes, how much material it takes, how to, making sure you put the simple things like putting painter's tape all over the pad of the platform before you start, so it's really easy to come off, things like that of that nature. Once you've got beyond that, kind of the next level up to that is you start looking at Customizer. Now, again, back in Thingiverse, there's this right here, which is called Customizer. It's just an app that's associated with it. But you can grab things that are already done and you can customize them. Now, a couple really simple little things that we have our students do. One is a hall pass. So they make hall passes for all the teachers. It's a good one to start because all teachers need hall passes, and so they can make it, with their name on it. Or even a door wedge that has the number of the room in it. Little simple things, but it gets them in that mindset of taking something somebody else has created and customizing it, kind of that remix idea, remix culture. And so that's kind of the next level up from kind of just grabbing something off Thingiverse. And that brings us up to the next, even beyond this, it's a little bit more advanced, and we start using things like Tinkercad. Now, one of the questions we got in before the show here is, okay, I only have Chromebooks, or really I don't have really high-end, versions of AutoCAD or SketchUp or that kind of thing. Tinkercad is a free online, totally browser-based solution. It's not, of course, the level of complexity, say, as a SketchUp or an Onshape or that type of thing, but it's absolutely great for kids to get started. They can grab models that have been completed, they can go in and customize them. This is one right here, which is a big hit, a locker cup holder. And so what we'll have students do is they download that, and then they'll pull it up and they'll edit it. They'll go in and add their own name to it, or they'll use Tinkercad to learn how to do it. And I know Kevin's got some other models around that that kids have looked at and been able to kind of use, and some of the bigger printers as well. I don't know, Kevin, if you've got some of those bigger models right handy, we can pull up and share.
I do. This piece here is a neat one I like to share with folks, mainly because as a proud papa, my son actually took Tinkercad, brought in a train whistle, but modified it. Nothing too complicated, but from an engineering and a design perspective, just something as simple as adding these tiers on the top. Again, it's about a lesson that we're teaching him. So we took something basic, just a simple train whistle here, and I showed him how he could add the different spires to it to just make it his. And he's extremely proud of it. We've probably printed 200 of these and given them away through the years. And every time he sees them, he goes, hey, I did that. And that's what this is all about. It's about sparking those creative juices to get these kids really engaged there. Another piece that came from one of our students is maybe something, it's an architectural model of our state house in the beautiful state of South Carolina. This young man took a 2D drawing and created it 3D. Now, it took him quite a long time to do that, as you can imagine, but look at the level of detail here. I mean, we even have the steps. We even have the top of the Capitol. We have the entire wings. Don't have the windows and everything, but man, what a great achievement for this young man when it came to taking a blend of 2D image and creating that from scratch. It was phenomenal work, really was.
And that is that sort of kind of educational magic where kids go from something in their head to having something they can hold in their hand or hand around, whatever. It's something that you don't really mimic that other places, I found. So kind of along those same lines.
Go ahead. Can we ask a question?
Of course.
So there's lots of chat going on, and they know that they can use Chromebooks to do this, but is there an app for your cell phone?
Yep. So I was going to share, and this one's a little bit different, maybe that's the thinking as far as design goes, but this is super, super useful, especially at the elementary grades. I know a lot of questions I get is, oh, I'm kindergarten, first grade, second grade. How do I get them involved? And so one of the apps that we use this is right on an iPad, and you can use it on your phone or your tablet or whatever. And it's called Print Shop. It's from MakerBot. It's a free app, so it doesn't matter if you have a MakerBot or not. You can still get the design. And what this will do is I can take any picture that a student draws. All it has to be is a really contrasted. So let's say, white background and black letters or whatever it is. Once I take a picture of that, so I've got some pictures on here that my kids have drawn. Here's looks like, I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's a little light there. I can click this button here, and it renders it automatically into a 3D model. So it's taking a 2D item, turn it into 3D. And so we've had like pre-K kids. One of the projects we did last year is pre-K kids outline their hands on there, and they drew a little symbol inside. And this was a Mother's Day gift for each of their moms. They would basically give a little 3D model of their hand. And it was super easy to do. And again, the directions for this type of thing are right in the show notes as well. If you don't have access to an iPad handy, as far as for that app specifically, there's also a website called Selva 3D, and that will do the same thing using your webcam. So you can take a 2D image, and it will convert it into a 3D model, play with it a little bit. It's the only drawback of that is you have to pay after the first one, but it's minimal. It's like 20 cents a time or something like that. It's very low cost. But that's the kind of thing where you start getting those younger kids involved in the 3D process. What we've done in the past is we had some of our older kids, our older students, adopt a younger student to help them, if they need certain tweaks or whatever to kind of make it beyond just that first print. Put this back up.
And Kern, if I could add something on the websites there, I'll tell you from some interactions I've done with some of our younger students with some of the pre-K programs as well as the elementary schools. There is something that is just phenomenal to really grab the kids' attention. It's Crayola Alive. Crayola is the crayons, nothing too fancy there. But there's actually coloring books that you can color, and then through an app actually go in and make that image come alive virtually and take pictures. You can look at the model. You can do all kinds of things. This is a great tool for young kids to really get fired up. And what I tell my educators is my goal is not to get a 4- and 5-year-old to be able to design and print in 3D. My goal is to get a 4- and 5-year-old to expect 3D to be a part of their education experience. And the Crayola Alive is a great way to do that. The last one I would throw in is the 1-2 3D Catch. That one's a little bit better for kids that are middle school, junior high, depending on where you are, because if they have cell phones, then instead of fighting them to put it down and stop doing it, then let's figure out a way to incorporate it. Well, this is a great tool to allow you to turn any real thing into a 3D model. And it is a great way to really get those kids excited about expecting and understanding and grabbing 3D, as opposed to it just being this cool thing sitting over in the corner. You can really make it come alive here.
Yeah, that's another great point. And I think too, kind of that idea, that mindset where kids will think of the 3D printer first. I know in my own household, we had the 3D printer over the summer, and I had a part break in one of my tables. There's no big deal. It's on my a table out back in the patio, and the little grommet broke. And my initial reaction was to go buy a new copy of that little part. And my son, who was 7, he's like, look at me and said, "Hey, Dad, can't you just print that out?" I said, well, of course I could. I didn't think of that first. And of course, we get to the point where our kids just assume, well, of course we can go create our own version of that or make it better, right? And that's kind of what we want, them taking these tools and improving upon them and learning from that process. We're going to step it up a little bit of a notch to the next level as far as complexity and some of the things that you can do. These are not necessarily for younger kids, I wouldn't say. You might have some advanced kids or so forth, but really kind of from scratch. And the idea here is that you might have a blank canvas and you can just make whatever you want. Some of the programs, and there are certainly higher end ones as far as like Shapeways, that kind of stuff, local stuff. But these ones that I'm sharing right here, they're either web-based or they're free. For example, SketchUp. If you're an educator, if you go through the process, you basically have to just prove that you're an educator, but they will give you a free version of that. And right up to 2017, the latest version. And that SketchUp's a very powerful modeling program where you can kind of basically create anything. Plus, there's tons and tons of models on 3D Warehouse that are already available. Autodesk, Onshape, those are both web-based, same kind of idea. They're obviously higher complexity, but that also means you're able to do more things. And so you basically have a blank slate to kind of fill in and do what you want. I will share one story here, one project that I think is worth sharing that we've had my students do. I mentioned earlier how we have kind of the rule in our school district is you want to make yourself an iPhone case or whatever it is, sure, you have to create something for us first. So the kids will go find projects to work on. And one of the projects that 2 of our 8th grade girls last year came up with, we actually have a robot. I got him right here. This is our double robot from our school, and his name is Sully. And it's a iPad basically with a Segway connected to it. And we have a girl that's homebound that uses this to go to class. And she'll go from room to room and she'll use this and so forth. And one of the things that we found was because the actual body of the robot is basically just a black pole, some of the kids wouldn't notice it very much. They just kind of walk a little bit too close to it for comfort. And so what we wanted to do is develop a system to be able to put a t-shirt on it and kind of dress it up a little bit so that it would stick out a little bit more. And so 2 of my 8th graders at the time came up with this system, and this is the double hanger system. It's not super fancy, but it works for what we needed it for. Is it would connect here, and they put the t-shirt on it, and this was our first iteration here, which worked great. And the student that we had as homebound was able to use this to kind of ride around and personalize it and so forth. And then what we found was after that first run that we wanted to use this places that didn't have Wi-Fi, so take it on a field trip with us, that kind of thing. And so we needed to be able to have some way to connect a MiFi or a portable hotspot with this. And so they developed this additional kind of component to it that you'd be able to basically just have like a holder here that they could use. And now you could kind of put a hotspot here or a phone or whatever you needed, and now they have it ready to roll. The girls have since offered this to the company, Double Robotics, and they bought the patent for it from them because they want to be able to offer this to other students who basically need the same exact thing. And so this is the kind of project where it started kind of small and just kind of met a need, but it really blossomed into something that you couldn't do without a 3D printer. I mean, technically you could do parts of it, but not in the same way, not with the same flexibility and be able to make that. All right. And like I mentioned earlier, if you have any questions about this, all the notes for this kind of project are right in the presentation. This brings us to our next kind of bigger project that we do with our kids. This is something that really works for everybody. If you have an advanced group, one of the things we really like to do is have our students kind of personalize their stuff to the point where it's very much a part of them. And so this is a project we do with all of our 8th graders. In this case, they're using SketchUp. But what they do is there's a connection with SketchUp in Google Earth where you can actually use Street View to find your actual house and your actual plot of land. And they'll basically make a 3D model of their house. And it's not just the fact they make a 3D model, they're actually placing it geographically exactly where their house is. So if they place that model back into Google Earth, they'll actually put it on where their house actually is. And then when they're all done, they're able to print out an actual copy of their house depending on what size we're looking for. And so this is a super great project that the kids love because they're creating something for them. The only drawback of this project is sometimes they get so invested into it, they spend way too much time on it. Which is a really good problem to have, right? You want your students to be so engrossed in something that it's harder to get them to stop than it is to keep them going. So any other quick tips? Kevin, I'm going to go into one more kind of teacherly type spiel about kind of idea creation, but I don't know if anything else you want to share before I dive in there.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the key thing that Kern's talking about there is find a problem and fix it, make it better, do something. And I can tell you, it's not limited to just the things you see in your school. I'll share with you a couple of projects that I've been real excited to be a part of. One of them, a fastest growing area for 3D printing, is prosthetics. So this piece is an actual cup that goes on someone's limb that they've lost. This is one of our prototypes. This is actually printed in a carbon fiber infused plastic. So this can hold a man that weighs about 260 pounds. Our goal was not to make X. Our goal and our problem that we fixed was working with the VA. We found that it was taking 4 to 6 months for our wounded veterans to be able to get their prosthetic. So we set a goal for 2 weeks, and our trials are now on target that we're down to 9 days. And it's all possible, exactly what Kern said. The only way this is possible is with 3D printing. Now, tying that back to the kids, there's various projects out there that allow you to do things with prosthetics, everything from Enable and lots of other printing parts of hands and everything. Would always caution my education folks, be careful. Don't turn into a print shop or print service because it's very easy to do because there's a huge demand for 3D printed parts. Part of my business is actually doing printing for folks, and I say no to about 7 jobs that I say yes to 3. And that is on a regular basis. So be careful making yourself into a print shop. But something like prosthetics, where you're able to go in, we even added a little logo for one of our corporate sponsors. You can see we started doing modifications to it because typically these things are solid, but we started coming up with ideas of how we can make it better. Well, think about the power of teaching a child, because there's a ton of engineering and math that's going into this prosthetic piece. But that math and engineering is turning into something that is real and makes an impact in people's lives. Another piece that kind of tied in a similar project, but a little bit different, it looks like a foot because it was a scan of a foot. And it's actually an insert that goes inside a tennis shoe. The foam or the padding that the tennis shoe goes over it. But I'm not sure if you can see, but it's actually got little indentions that are accommodating for malamities on somebody's foot. So we took a simple 3D scan from a $380 handheld 3D scanner, took it in and converted it in a piece that was then printed back out on a printer that is sub $1,000. So the printers that you can have in your school, we can start addressing real world stuff, and the kids will get a kick out of it. I'm a dad of a 5th grader. Anytime you talk about feet or something boy, that it gets their attention. But again, we're taking math and engineering and turning it into a real world thing.
That's a good segue too. People are asking about prices, that we can kind of chat about different actual materials. I know our rule of thumb, so if you were to print out an iPhone case, generally it's about under $1 for as far as material goes and that kind of thing. I don't know if you have more thoughts on pricing.
Yep. Materials are a great thing. They're kind of like gasoline in your car. You can get some really cheap stuff and it's going to frustrate you to death. Or you can get some really fun stuff like this. This is a material called Ninja Flex. It looks like nothing spectacular, but it stretches up to 10 times its original size and snaps right back. What it does is emulate latex. So I can do things like latex plugs, latex different models, or anything. Like I said, this was printed in carbon fiber infused plastic. But the majority of what we see folks do is just a simple organic based plastic. It's called PLA. It's very inexpensive. My tip I give folks is if it costs less than $2 or $20 for a pound of it, don't buy it. So 20 bucks is a good kind of keep in mind name and number or number there. My biggest question I get is, okay, Kevin, I spend 20 bucks. How many things, how much stuff can I get? Hardest question in the world to answer. And I'll tell you, a lot of it's got to do, if you look real closely at this piece, they're actually individual little links. Takes very, very little plastic to print this. The cost to do it, it's about 4 inches by 2 inches, is about 38 cents, according to a couple of the things I've done. Now, you can also flip around and print something the size of this. So this is about $8. So depending on what your printer is, but both of these, you can even see inside, it's got a double helix as well as an awesome staircase that leads all the way down. This is very popular with the kids as well. But as far as materials, I pretty much use that rule of thumb of 20 bucks. Can you find cheaper stuff? Yeah. But again, I always warn people, don't be penny wise, pound foolish. Be careful trying to cut too many corners, because your job is to use this as a tool to educate, not turn into a technician that constantly is doing nothing but fixing the machine. And the bottom line is you want the kids to be excited about it. You don't want to see them constantly with an educator, with their head down in a printer trying to figure out how to unjam a nozzle or something. They're very easy to troubleshoot, but they're also very easy to avoid having problems by just really trying to get some quality material to go through it.
Yeah, I think generally people ask me kind of what comparison to what other types of tools they might use. I usually compare it more to a juicer than a microwave. Microwaves are pretty self-sufficient. You put it in, turn on, turn off, no big deal. Juices are as well, but you're going to plan on some cleaning time. Like, it's just part of the process, part of the whole thing, and that's I think pretty comparable. And also the other thing that's a big factor here, not only obviously the cost, but also time. Printers are, how slow or fast they go depending on the actual printer itself, and ways to kind of deal with that with your students. If you've got a common question that's come up is, I've got 20 kids or I've got 50 kids in my class, is, how do I get them all to print? A couple different things with that. One is, of course, you can do groups, that kind of thing. We also, we've had reductive or like foam carvers that have worked as well. The reason why we use those is because they're so fast that kids could do a couple different models before they actually did the real final version of a 3D printed model.
Well, and also, Kern, if I could add on there, because we get that a lot as well with instructors that maybe have 10, 50, or the whole third grade. What we recommend is, and it's pretty easy to do, it's called nesting on a 3D printer. So you give everyone a smaller size, but then the instructor could put as many as 15 to 20 models to print all at one time. And I tell everyone, printing should be done overnight and over the weekends. Just let it run. Let it do its thing. Consider it as classroom as a dust mop. I mean, just let it do its thing over in the corner there. If you run it during class, it's quiet. This machine, believe it or not, is running the whole time we're talking, and I'm not sure if you can hear it over there or not. It's very, but if you turn this on in a 3rd to 10th grade class, guess what happens to every student in that class? Unless you have just something extremely profound to say, all eyes go to the printer. And the printer is nothing other than a tool to provide you with an education opportunity.
Yeah, and one of the kind of the low expensive way that we've dealt with overnight printing or weekend printing is the machine that we'll have will use Chrome. Actually has a remote desktop tool that's free and built right into Chrome, so you can be on the machine from afar from home, and you can use the webcam built right in to be able, like a Google Hangout or something, to watch it. Now there are some nicer printers that have that stuff built right in, which is great. But if you don't have that, that's just a free way to do that.
Yeah. I saw something pop up about cost calculators.
Yeah.
I can share with you that one of the neat things that we always, because we've evaluated about, I think we're up to about 22 different 3D printers. The majority of them never make it through our process to where we feel like they're commercially viable to go out there, because there's, just Google 3D printers under $500. You'll be shocked at how many you find there. The Flash Forge product comes with a print software called Flash Print that actually will tell you how much material and what an estimated cost is to run that piece. It gives you the time and the material. So the more commercial products, when they come with a slicing software, which is the software that basically makes the printer go, they do a great job as far as telling you how much material you're going to use and how much time is there. So it makes it nice and easy for you to come back and say, okay, that model cost me $1, $2, whatever it may be.
Yeah, perfect. So that's a great segue right now. We'll jump into kind of basically the whole process going from idea to creation with students, what that looks like. So this is kind of our process as we use. So step one is finding the problem. So this is an example that I'll share that we've been working on most recently within the last month or so with my students. We have Chromebooks at our high school, and one of my social studies teachers is doing interviews, student interviews, teacher interviews, and actually they do a local history project where they interview, grandparents or parents or that kind of thing for videos. And one of the issues, if they want to use a Chromebook as a recorder, now the webcam's not the best in the world, but it certainly is functional, is that the camera itself actually faces the wrong way, of course, right? It faces back towards you. So what would be a low cost but a quick solution that will deal with that? And so the solution was to figure out a way to mirror the image and kind of point it the other way. So the person that's taking the interview can sit on one side and record the other person the other way. And so we started creating prototypes and literally just cardboard. Kids would, start cutting cardboard together, taping it, making different variations to see what would work. We ordered a couple different sizes of mirrors to see what would fit there. And then we started taking measurements. We make sure you have a caliper handy. There's a million different uses for this, and they're not very expensive. But there's all kinds of different reasons this might pop up. So we go through, take the measurements of the one that we like the looks of and what worked, and then we dive into the design software. And again, this would be certainly specific to what you're looking for. We use SketchUp in this case, but you could use Tinkercad or really any of those we talked about earlier would certainly work for this component of it. And we had a couple of students kind of tackle their version of it to see what worked the best and what the end result was. And then we started to print, and you'll notice we started printing 1 version, 2 versions, 3 versions. These are all very low, like the lowest setting as far as quality level. We're just doing this for speed. These would take less than 10 minutes to print. They're not very thick. They're just to see what would work, the angles, what actually worked out well and what didn't work. And then when we're all said and done, we actually have the model itself. And so I'll just kind of show you what we ended up with. Let's jump back here. turn this off. There we go. So this is a model. This is just one that's right here. This mirror right here would, when the camera's on, it would face the other way, and we got it so it would work on different types of laptop, either a Chromebook, a MacBook, pretty much anything. One thing we did find is these little mirrors you can buy. They have them at craft stores. They're very inexpensive, like 10 cents, maybe 15 cents a piece. We found that the 3-inch mirror actually worked best rather than the 2-inch one, so we kind of adjusted our model from that. But when we're all said and done, we'll have a prototype that we can just basically give out to everybody. We can share it on Thingiverse, and anybody who needs to do that same type of project, it's a perfect kind of 3D printing model to use. I don't know if you have anything to add, Kevin. I think we're jumping into additional projects here.
Yeah, I would. Those are great, by the way, and I think it's fantastic to always start with a problem and what do we envision the solution to be. One of the big things that I get asked about is how do I get more disciplines involved in 3D printing? Beyond the obvious, beyond the engineering, the math. A few art teachers that want to get involved, but they're not sure how, because we do have full color 3D printing. Those printers can be acquired by schools. They're a little more. You may need an endowment, or you may need a very nice alumni to be able to afford one of those. But I want to show some really cool examples of how to get high-tech 3D printing with some good old just basic art. I'm a special education art teacher for most of my young life, and it gives you a whole unique perspective and appreciation for someone that can take a simple 3D printed model and turn it into something that looks like. Educator, you may be going, I'm never going to print watermelons. We don't even grow watermelons wherever I live. But my point is, well, in South Carolina, we grow a lot of watermelons, and they're fantastic, by the way, so if you ever get here. But my point is, look at the reality of this watermelon. It even has where the vine was. Now, all this is a plastic 3D printed elongated spear that we took and painted. So nothing too spectacular there, but what this represents is the high tech with the basic art. Because think about the power of being able to take something as plain as a prototype of a motorcycle tank to your art class and say, let's turn it into something that is a commercially viable product by using stickers, appliques, paint, all these other wonderful applications that you can do. So I don't look at it, and I don't think 3D technology should ever be a threat to some of the traditional ways that things are done, whether it be manufacturing, whether it be creating things. It's more of a way to enhance it. Now, my last piece, I will tell you, here's an example of what a 3D printed banana looks like when it comes off the printer. Pretty cool. I mean, nice. It looks like a banana, right? The bottom part is what's called the supports. So those are torn away when you're done. But look what happens after you airbrush the exact same piece. Who wants a bite? I'll open it here. I'll open it for you. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. But we even did a few little bruises on it because there's no such thing as a perfect banana, right? I mean, there's always a little imperfection. But again, look at what the power of what we were able to do, combining traditional technology with new technology. So that's how you get your art teachers involved. And let's face it, if we get art teachers involved, the world's a happy place.
No, that's fantastic. That's great. I will share too, kind of an additional list of basically the same kind of idea, bringing that different content areas and so forth. We're very lucky. We have the Perloff Foundation, which is in Maine, and they're one of those kind of benefactors that provide 3D printers. I'm not sure the exact number. I know it's in the maybe even the hundreds around the state. And one of the things they've done is they've collected a whole list, and this is in the show notes as well, of all the different types of projects that they've come up with. All different. Certainly, art is a big thing. But there's math, there's science, there's you name it, pretty much any level that you're thinking of. There's probably a project in here that applies to what you'd be looking for. So this is a great repository, and they're always looking to add more. So if this is something that you come up with something and want to add back, it's a great place to add it, and so we can all kind of benefit from each other. So I think that brings us to one of the big parts that everybody's been waiting for of the evening. the drawing here, let's put this up here. So if you haven't been in the drawing yet, we will add the link in the chat here. And so it's bit.ly/3D webinar drawing. And this right here will bring you to a Google form. So let's just click on it real quickly. I'll show this off here. And go ahead and fill this in. And once you've done, and we'll give a few minutes here for everybody to fill this in and so forth, we're going to hand over to Lisa, who is going to, will take those names and do a random drawing. Let's do a quick check. Kevin, how close is our print finishing up? Where we're at?
It's coming along here. We're actually printing another one of our caterpillars because I have 2 children, and so if I go home with one, you know.
Yeah, you need one for each to go.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Yeah,
but I would like to share just 2 other examples of real world stuff that I've seen with the educators. One of them was, I remember when I was younger, lots of schools and career centers taught shop. They taught some of the more mechanical things. And a lot of those have evolved into STEM centers, career centers, really focusing on some of the, the more advanced computer technology. But I wanted to share this with you. This is actually just an oil and water separator that one of our students with our local career center here in my home district in Irmo, South Carolina. It's a beautiful place. He actually came up with this, and the reason he did is kind of along what you talked about earlier, Kern. The bottom of theirs had rusted out, and they had no money to buy shop tools, but they had money to buy, which was a little different. So they ended up actually taking that and just from measurements and design their own. What you can't really see is between the 2 where you actually pour it in, there's a small filter at the bottom that allows the oil to move one way and the water to stay another. And then the drain hole at the top is as it fills up, it actually comes out the bottom. So these guys did a great thing. The last piece is biology class in 3D printing. Man, what a fun one. You ever want to teach a kid about what the inside of a skull looks like, what a heart looks like, what lungs look like? Let them hold it. This is an example of a 3D printed, a third of an actual size skull that, believe it or not, can be printed in any color you choose on the Flash Forge Finder that we're going to be giving away here shortly. But you want to get your kids fired up? Show them a skull. I guarantee you'll get their attention in the biology class. Plus, it also, I mean, it's beyond just the wow. You can start showing them inside of things. You can print slices. This is not, obviously the full skull because digitally I captured it. I'm able to do slices to where I can start seeing inside the sinus cavities and start really taking the education to a different level there.
Yeah, that's when you start going from that, actual real thing they can hold in their hands, things that they wouldn't be able to even see otherwise.
That's it. That's it.
We've got a question here about a couple different specific projects, math and science. I'm going to just stare everybody. I mean, there's a whole list we have on that presentation. We said thanks to the Perloff Foundation. We're talking things like, tessellations. We've got actual design houses, oil spill type things. Like I said, there's probably about, 50 or so different projects that, depending on your grade level or what you have for a device or for a printer would kind of be applicable to you. So certainly we'll click through that and look through that.
Great. Kern, Kevin, before I just kind of summarize where everyone can find everything and pick the winner of the 3D printer, was there anything else that you wanted to show off or talk about? Or I know we had questions when folks originally registered.
Yeah, I had a couple that I want to kind of reach out to. One specifically right off the bat, if you were trying to convince a tech-shy leader to take the plunge to 3D printing in your school, would be the most convincing benefit. And that's one of those things that ideally, if you can get that person in the presence of a 3D printer and watch it work, there's something magical about that, that when people are in that presence and see that and feel that and like, oh my goodness, that really makes a big difference. If you can't do that, certainly there's a ton of great videos. Certainly if you would want to, send this link right here to our webinar here to kind of get them initiated. But that type of thing, if you can get them in the presence of a printer working, that's a really fantastic way to kind of sell them.
The other thing I would add to that is beyond letting them see it live, talk to a educator, or more importantly, talk to a student that has had 3D printing impact their education experience. I've got several clients that have taken an approach almost of a mentor program, but it's not the educators. The educator actually takes a step back. We have a group of 10 to 12 students that the first semester of the school year, the 3D printers are theirs. They're responsible for making sure they're clean, they're supplied, they're up to date, they're ready to print. And then the second semester, these 11th and 12th graders now go back and mentor 9th and 10th graders. So you have this constant circle of internal experts, because I will tell everyone out there that touches children, educators, everything, don't be the obstacle to your kids getting fired up about 3D printers. Don't put them behind classroom walls. Don't put them in restricted areas. If they're in the media center, let them walk over and touch the thing. Let them walk over and see it. You know, there's very little that can go wrong here, but demystify them. That is the biggest thing that I really push my folks. Demystify this technology and make it as commonplace as that desktop printer you have sitting in your office, your classroom, your school, wherever it is. This is just a must-have for education. And I'll turn it back over to Kern. I'm gonna move my camera so I can shoot down in here as close as I can. So bear with me. Don't look away. It may be a little bit of Blair Witch Project on the way over.
Yeah, no, and I'll just echo what you're saying in the sense of, like, if you can get these in the classroom, and not just the tech guy's classroom or the media classroom, but actually in, you know, a language arts classroom or a history classroom or, you know, social studies or whatever it is, so they realize it's not, this is a tool like a pencil, like a computer, you know, like all these other things that we kind of take for granted now. When they see it and they actually, oh wait, I have access to this, I can use this, absolutely. You get students, you know, what happens is those same kids that are the ones that they want to dive in the most and really want to kind of check this thing out, those are the ones you want to use their forces for good and have them helping you, right? They want them to kind of the first line of defense. When a teacher wants to use it, they're the ones cleaning it up and keeping it, you know, all together and working on it, because really that's the best. It's a win-win for everybody. The kids get a lot out of it, of course, and so do we do as education systems. It's hypnotic watching the printer go back and forth.
It's so funny. I shared this story with Kern. Every time we deliver a machine to a manufacturing client, we have 10 to 15 highly experienced, highly educated engineers all standing around with their hands on their knees staring at plastic come out of a 3D printer. And it's exciting and funny at the same time.
Well, Kevin, I have to tell you, this 3D printer that you have agreed to give away tonight, it could be going as far as Singapore, New Zealand. Yeah, we've got folks from all over the world who have been hanging in, paying attention.
That's fantastic.
So I think what I'm going to do, Kern, unless you wanted to address any other questions, I'm just going to kind of go over next steps.
I think that's great.
Okay. So actually, I'm going to switch to me, and I'm going to screen share. And so, you know, let's just talk about, I've got a lot going on my screen. Let's just talk about, you know, you'll still be able to find all the resources from today at bit.ly/3D webinar. We'll be adding a few more as well. You can always learn more and stay connected with EdTechTeam online on Twitter and on Google+ and join our community. We have links already to the link to the archive webinar, so this will be available for you to use and share with your colleagues. I'm going to copy and paste the chat into the link to archive chat. Go ahead and fill out our request form and request a full or a half-day 3D printing workshop at your school or in your district. And of course, if you want a PD certificate for tonight or this afternoon or this morning, depending upon where you are, go ahead and click that link as well. We are going to add some additional resources. I know some folks were asking about like the cell phone apps and things like that. So Kern and Kevin will go ahead and paste those in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab everybody, everybody that's filled out our form to request a free 3D printer. I'm going to copy those names and I'm going to go into a random name picker and paste all those names in there. And are you guys ready? I'm going to pick a random name, and Brian Cuthers, I think he's from New York or New Jersey. Let's check the chat to see if he's put something in the chat. Brian has won the 3D printer. So I'm going to stop screen sharing and congratulate Brian. There's a bunch of thank yous in the chat. Trying to stop screen sharing. There's a bunch of thank yous in the chat, and we really appreciate your time. And Brian's going to get an email from us, and we're going to post all of this on our blog, on Twitter. You're going to get a follow-up email. And any closing statements, Kevin or Kern?
Just get printing quickly as you can.
And Kevin?
That's it. Make it real, make it fun, and just let it come alive for you. 3D printing is here.
And we want to really, truly thank Simplified Office Systems for donating to 3D Printer, and Kevin for taking the time to share your knowledge and expertise with Kern and everybody else who's been viewing. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.